Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Counterpoise podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Samantha Adams, and I'm also joined by my other two co-hosts.
Hi, everybody. My name is Malik Foster. I'm another co-host for the Counterpoints podcast.
And what's going on, everyone? I'm Everett Stevenson, your third co-host for the Counterpoise podcast. And on today's show, we have a really good, interesting topic that we want to bring you guys today. We're looking to talk about the Brittany Griner situation, um, and her arrest in Russia, and some of the reasons for why she had to go over there. Something we're gonna look into also a little bit of like the politics of her being there and her also, and her also being released and maybe a little bit of history of celebrities and being locked up overseas, black celebrities in a recent history that we've had in lights of that. So we just want to kind of give some looks into this as this has been kind of getting a little bit more traction recently as she had her day in court not too long ago, and we know that there was a guilty plea that was being played. So anybody want to go ahead and pop off with the topics?
Yeah, I want to just start off by saying people have to understand that Russian law is not the same as American law. And so the fact that she entered a guilty plea doesn't necessarily mean that she's convicted. She still could potentially have a trial, things like that. The way that they go about doing things is very different over there. And also, too, some of the things that they've been talking about doing as it relates to her potential release. But before we dig in and all that, I did just want to remind people that the laws are different and the way that their procedural law is also different. So not just what the law is, but how they execute those laws is different over there. But let's dive right into why was she there in the first place, right? Like, let's talk a little bit about Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner is a WNBA star. If I'm not mistaken, she also was on the Olympic team. I could be wrong about that, but I think that she was. And but the thing about the WNBA, she went over there because she went to go earn some extra money, right? Because the WNBA players don't make nearly as much as NBA players. So that was the whole reason why she went over there, so she could play some ball overseas. And so, guys, did you want to add on to that or anything?
Oh, yeah. I'll add on to it a little bit here. So Brittany Griner, she, is a WNBA superstar. But it's kind of disheartening that, that she has to go over there to make the additional money and things. That's from one perspective. Some people may feel that way. Another perspective is that, hey, take the opportunities that present yourself. And it's unfortunate that she did get caught with some paraphernalia. I believe it was marijuana. And what'd you say, Sam?
It was a hashish cartridge, Cardinchino. It was a vape pen cartridge with hashish in it.
Okay. And apparently that's illegal in Russia. So yeah, she pled guilty to that. Thanks for that. So you have to be mindful of the rules of different countries when you're traveling. So she definitely needs to be mindful of that. But I think I don't know if we're going to get into more of the political aspects of this later. But I think we're going to touch on that a little later. But there's a lot of politics behind this one. But go ahead.
But while we're on the subject, there's a couple of things I just want to reference in particular to Brittany's background. One of the things that made her most notable for me, and I think most of America, was when she played college ball at Baylor, I believe. And she was like one of the more recent females to dunk a ball in the college NCAA game. So that was one of the things that kind of brought her infamy as well. Was watching Brittany Griner, dunk in college and stuff like that. So that's when, I think her celebrity has kind of blown up. But since then, again, she's gone on to become a superstar center in the WNBA as well. And to the point that Malik had said, I know we've seen this for years. I think even if any of our love and basketball fans are watching, we've seen that Quincy McCall's girlfriend, Nia Long, I forgot her character's name, but she had to go overseas. I'm sorry?
Sanaa Lathan.
Sanaa Lathan, pardon me. Oh, man, I don't know why I said Nia, but Sanaa Lathan, she had to go overseas and play ball overseas as well. So, and I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know if the WNBA was around on that time, but I definitely know that that is something that's still a current practice that a lot of women do, and they may play in different leagues. Some play in Russia, some might play in Europe, some might play in Argentina, things of that nature. So yeah, I think when we look at that, we just wanted to kind of touch on why that is, right? Because we're so used to seeing, male NBA players with big endorsement deals and things like that, and also having big contracts, especially this past offseason. There was roughly alleged so far before the even seasons or before all the signees have been made. There's a stat that said there's around $1.8 billion that was negotiated this year off of the offseason. So big money that's being used for the males. But I think one of the things that we also wanted to look at in contrast to why that is that we're told that attendance in some of the WNBA games aren't well attended as far as being sellout crowds like we see in the male stadiums sometimes. We also hear that, the TV deals aren't as lucrative as they are with, say, the male side of the game, which ultimately adds to the bottom line that the organization will have in order to pay for the caps for the teams, allowing them to pay the players whatever amount of money that they agree on, but also in order to give teams, again, players larger salaries.
I mean, there are male players that do go play overseas. I mean, I know some. I have some in my family, and even if they've played, they may not have been, the franchise player on that team, or may not have been the big superstar on that team, but they have in fact gone overseas to play ball. So it is common for people to go overseas to play basketball. It's just that when you're talking about women in the league, they just don't get the same type of publicity. They don't get the same type of promotion. They don't have the same kind of contracts or crowds that come. Like, you're not going to get the contracts if you don't get the crowds, but you can't get the crowds if you don't get the publicity and the promotion. So it's like a circular argument. And so I think that as it relates to the WNBA, I think they should probably consider trying to do a little bit more for their players, because look at the situation we're in, right? You have Brittany Griner, a woman who went over there. She had a hashish vape cartridge in her bag on accident. Like, it was a mistake. She meant to take it out of her bag, and she didn't. She forgot. And just as a criminal defense attorney here in Atlanta, you'd be surprised as to how many people forget to take their gun out of their bag before they go through the airport, go through TSA. And that's like a perfect example is Joel Santana. He just finally got off probation. Remember, he had a gun in his bag that he forgot was in there. Happens all the time. People just forget, right? And the thing about it is, when they forget, you run into a problem, right? Especially now, the thing about Brittany Griner is she forgot, but the bigger issue is the fact that she forgot and she went to another country where the United States doesn't have the greatest relationship. So, that's where we run into a lot of the political issues as it relates to her. Like, why do you guys think I know it's getting attention, but I feel like it's not getting enough attention, right? And that goes to what you were saying earlier, Eve, as it relates to other celebrities that have been incarcerated in other countries. She's getting attention, but you don't see, you see it on the news, but you don't see like celebrities rallying behind her. Like I saw a post, a tweet the other day, I think from Chris Brown, who said something. But you don't see all of these other celebrities kind of rallying behind her like you would or like you have in the past. What do y'all think that's about?
Well, since he's mentioned celebrities, that's a good segue for me to discuss the situation with how they're comparing LeBron James with Brittany Griner. And are they trying to compare that because he's a man? Or is it because it's LeBron James? Like he has more clout? Like,
what's the comparison?
Well, basically, they're trying to say if this was LeBron James, he wouldn't be, going to jail or, being held up like this. And I agree. I mean, it's LeBron James. You can't compare LeBron James to Brittany Griner. They would have found some way. First of all, LeBron James is a billionaire. So it's very rare that, a billionaire, even when they do something wrong, especially when it's like on a small scale, that they're going to be held up in jail. You know what I mean?
Something, Malik, something interesting. One thing that a lot of people don't know as it relates to the history of what's going on with her. So, excuse me, Brittany Griner has been in jail since February, was it 17th, something like that. And she's charged with smuggling drugs and possession, I think. And the thing about it is, when she entered her guilty plea, we read an article on ESPN.com that said something to the effect of them considering trading her for somebody that's incarcerated here in the United States for some terror acts, right? So you have a woman over there incarcerated for possession. She faces 10 years in jail for possession of a hashish cartridge from a vape pen. Okay, but you have a terrorist over here in the United States, and they're looking to trade. So I think I agree with you to a degree about the LeBron James argument. Like, if it was LeBron James, maybe we wouldn't be having that discussion. But then again, maybe we would, right? Because you're talking about a country we do not have good relationship with, and you're looking to free some people. So.
But there's other factors like the star factor, LeBron James.
This is the point that I'm making, right? They very well could be like, oh my God, it's LeBron James. Let's hold on to him until we can get a bigger terrorist or, more people that are incarcerated in the United States that we want back here in our country, using them as a bargaining chip. And I believe that that's what they're doing.
Well, LeBron James has more power, wealth, and influence than Brittany Griner has.
He does.
Brittany Griner as a political tool to say, hey, we're not going to follow the West, aka the
US. I agree with that, but who's to say that they wouldn't do the same thing with LeBron James? That's the point that I'm making, or any other NBA star.
Well, yeah, we could just speculate, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's not 100% guaranteed that things wouldn't go down the way it would. I know LeBron James would
definitely be different, but we don't know whether or not they would still use him as a bargain.
I don't even think he would have a court date, to be honest. This issue would have been handled back channels.
I don't think so. I think he would still go through the process because we're still talking about Russia. We're not talking about Sweden, like with ASAP.
Yeah, I know we're still talking about Russia, but we're talking about, we would be comparing LeBron James, a billionaire, one of the biggest stars in the world.
But like you said, the other factors, such as what country they're in, that absolutely matters. You see what I'm saying?
And that's why I wanted to go into talking about one of the other celebrities that we have seen being locked up within the, like I said, in the past future. I think in the ASAP situation, he was locked up in Sweden for a more serious charge, such as like assault on a citizen, in which it was believed he played self-defense in that moment.
They attacked him or something like that. It was something crazy.
Yeah. But he was released after a year, with bargaining from, the president at the time, which I believe was Trump. And again, like, as we're talking about, the politics and the imaging of things and the positioning of things, I think that has to get get weighed in as well, because twofold, because of the fact that, again, he was able to get out freely, but there was some time before that, it was kind of like, okay, hey, what's going on? Is America going to go step in for him? And then at that point, I think what we saw then was that in some of the arguments that I think even ASAP himself has made was that, Trump did that in order to gain, respect and voters within the Black community. And so it kind of goes into jostling for, like you said, in the politics and trying to get people in position to say that, okay, listen, hey guys, I freed one of your entertainers, so you guys should vote for me. Or, I'm good with your community because, look, I'm looking out. And I think another person Andy free was Kodak. And I think we recently seen, even though that wasn't an international, it wasn't an international situation, but I think it was also showing more of how that president was using Black celebrity, in a sense, to try to garner credentials within the community.
Because he did that with Lil Wayne too. But it's interesting.
Politics definitely plays a big part in that. Yeah, you guys want to keep going?
We don't see him doing anything about the Brittany Griner situation when he still has some political pull, especially with the Russian president.
Absolutely right. Based off the relationship that he's had with Russia and all of the conversations and things, it's kind of like, yeah, interesting to see that now you silent when there's another American that's there.
I kind of quickly wanted to go back a little bit and touch on like the WNBA, the pay, the gender gap, and the reason why she's even over there. So, the WNBA, there's issues with the players as regards to the revenue sharing. They want to increase percentage, but the thing is that they're trying to make that comparison to the NBA, but they can't because, there's not the level of interest there, right? So you can't expect the same type of results that the NBA players are gathering and the same power the NBA is gathering when you're not producing to the level of the NBA players, right? So this is just about business at the end of the day. Do they deserve a little bit more pay? I would probably say, yeah, they deserve a little bit more pay, but they don't have any leverage. That's the problem from a business perspective, because they're not gathering that interest from the viewership to actually get those big TV deals, right? Those advertisement deals where a lot of the money comes from. So that's one of the issues that the WNBA players have in terms of increasing their pay. And obviously the owners, they want to be greedy as they always are, and they want to keep as much of the revenue as they can without sharing a good portion. I'm trying to remember exactly what percentage they get. I know it's a low percentage, but yeah, I think it's like 10%.
I agree with that. I agree with that statement, Malik. The only thing I think that could help garner more money for the WNBA is more promotion and exposure. If you spend more money on promotion and exposure, and even if you got to get gimmicky, you got to do what you got to do.
Over the years, they're trying to do that. Like some players, like Chris Paul and Dwayne Wade, other players are trying to do it.
Right, but I'm talking about as a league, as a whole, the WNBA should be trying to do more to promote, its games, right? Do things that'll get people to want to come.
But the thing is, the people aren't interested in their games.
But because you're not giving them a reason to be. That's the thing about promotion, right? Like if like, for example, we have this podcast. If we
they do have to get creative with the marketing. Like they need to start marketing their stars.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Really trying to push them forward. But
that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying
they're scared to invest in them.
Well, see, and then that's a problem, right? Because without risk, there's no reward. And scared money make no money. That's another way of putting it. You know what I'm saying?
Because I think they honestly think they're not going to get the return on their investment from.
No, the thing about it is
one other thing that I think though that was. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
Let me just finish my statement, and then you got it. the thing about it is if you don't put that out there and try to find ways to bring people, to attract people, even if you're putting them in movies, trying to find ways to get more attention to the WNBA, then it's going to happen. And this is not true for just her team. It's true for all the teams across the board. That's what I was going to say. Go ahead, E.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes when we see when it comes to the WNBA stars, that they have to market themselves. Like I know a few of them, even though I might not be able to tell you their teams, but and that's just because of like maybe the way that they dress, such as like Sue Bird and how she's a sneakerhead. So she's always had some of the freshest kicks, or Deanna Taurasi, pardon me. But we also, sometimes I think you could look at some of the skill set of some of the girls as well, and seeing how they kind of come up and how they're really playing the game really well. My favorite, Tamika Cooper, hey baby, you know what I'm saying? So I think they do a great job of just marketing themselves, branding themselves. You kind of see them out and about. You might see them dressing well in the locker rooms and stuff like that. And those are the things that they have to do. But I agree. I think it'd be a better look if the organization bought in, and if the league, and the owners also bought into trying to brand and market them. And I'm not saying if they don't. I'm sure they have billboards and posters and things of that nature. But like you said, get them out on talk shows a little bit more. I think another interesting concept that some have mentioned would be to maybe try to lower the rim a little bit more, because one of the things, like I mentioned earlier in the show, that brought Brittany Griner to my attention was the fact that she was able to dunk. And so she was one of the first people that we seen, dunk in the game, such as I think Lisa Leslie was one of the first ones to do whatever in the WNBA game. I remember that one as well. But, but seeing Brittany do it, it brought so much commotion, so much, hype. And I think, maybe if we could see girls coming in, throwing alley-oops, or, coming down, dunking on somebody like we see a Ja Morant do or something like that, or with so much conviction, it would be really wild to see, just somebody yelling all in your face, like, yeah.
The thing I was going to say on that, was like that goes to the marketability, right? Like they need to find different ways to market them. Okay, obviously you can't compare the men's athletics to the women's athletics, because it's just not an equal comparison. It's no way that you can make that equal. It's impossible. So maybe there's storylines, like if there's beef, if there's they have to get on their WWE style type of creativity when it comes to.
I don't think you got to do all that, because I know some female.
I think they do, because the product.
I think that there's some female
product isn't enough
that will bust some of them men's behind, and I think the best way to handle that, honestly, one of the greatest forums in the NBA, I mean, not even the NBA, in basketball, is All-Star Weekend.
They can't compete with them.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, Sam.
Listen, okay. You say that. So I know a couple of females will come through and run through a bunch of grown men, okay, that have been balling for a while. So the thing about it is, when, like I was saying, All-Star Weekend is one of the biggest forums that basketball has, right? And they have WNBA events. But maybe if you do more incorporation, like what if you had a 3-point shootout of men versus women? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like you could do different things that'll bring more attention to the WNBA, to see that some of these women are not anything to play with. You see what I'm saying? And I think to try to just bring attention to it, to get people's attention, so they're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I do want to see. You know what I mean? You never know, because I am 5'9". I suck at basketball. I'm not about to sit here and pretend like I'm good at it or anything. But when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, and I cheered both for our both teams, our boys and our girls teams. I was a varsity cheerleader, and what I can tell you is our girls basketball team was better than our boys basketball team. And so in some schools, it's like that, right? And so I think that it's important to bring more attention and awareness to that. And you can't do that just by continuing with the same formula. I think one thing that all of us can agree on is the marketing has to change. Like the formula for the marketing has to change.
Right.
How we go about doing that, that's up to them. They have enough money to find somebody that can come up with a plan. You know what I'm saying? But I think that at the end of the day, that's really what needs to happen. I wanted to, did you guys have anything else that you wanted to add? I was going to go ahead and start my final thoughts.
I wanted to add, like, I hope this is from a political side. I think this is a task. I hope Biden can handle it. I'm not really confident he'll handle it the right way. Some people were throwing out there that, like, would this be such a big issue if Trump was around? I don't know. You start to hear these rumblings, right? I'm at a business conference and Trump was mentioned again. I'm at some business conference, so it's like I hate to kind of get off topic, but there's lack of confidence in our current leadership to handle issues such as this, especially the foreign issues that we have in our country. So. I know this is more so about Brittany Griner and her situation, but that's just another aspect of it that I found pretty interesting. How people are having rumblings about, Trump and saying, hey, Trump would have handled this situation a lot better than Biden has, even though Biden just recently had that little hiccup that he tends to have pretty consistently. He's falling over on his bike and it's just looking bad.
Reading stuff he's not supposed to read on the teleprompter.
Yeah, it's just looking bad. So that's what I wanted to add on from a political perspective. Also one thing, yeah, this is definitely like a political move from Russia. They like you were saying, they want to do a prisoner swap. So we'll see if the U.S. gives in on that or if they just let her sit there.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything else you want to add before final thoughts?
No, I'm ready to go into my final thought, which I can, jump this off real fast and I'll come back in after y'all.
I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and then you can just close it out, close this all the way out. Okay. So, first and foremost, prayers to Brittany Griner, her family, her friends, especially her wife. Her wife hasn't been able to talk to her. And I know that that's got to be incredibly frustrating. The embassy was supposed to set something up, didn't follow through with it. And so, prayers to her. And I think that the treatment of Brittany Griner is harsh because she forgot to take a hashish cartridge out of her bag. Now, I get it. There's laws in other countries, and you have to abide by those laws. But I think that the treatment itself is harsh for what it is that she's actually being accused of doing and what she's even pled guilty of doing. Intent actually it plays a huge part. I don't know about over there in Russian law, but in the United States, it plays a huge role. Like you really have to intend to commit a crime. Most crimes. There's some crimes you don't, but most crimes you have to intend to have committed them. And I think that my hope for her is that she gets to come home and she can just have to go back to Russia. I think that is really rough, the fact that she's looking at 10 years in jail. And so I hope somebody can do something for her, whether it be our government. I think that our other celebrities should be rallying more behind her, because I think that what's going on with her and what's going on over there in Russia with her is a rough situation. And even though she might be okay physically, right, being in jail for that long can take a toll on you, especially when it's for something so small. She's been in there for 5 months and she's expected to be there at least another one. So, like I said, my prayers to her. And, we just got to make sure that we remember to be good to each other, not just over there in Russia and how the Russians are treating her, but over here. We have to make sure that we support one another when we feel like it's right. I don't know why Chino keeps barking, but, we do. Just, prayers to her and her family. And I hope that she just holds her head up.
Malik, you want to go next, or so I can
Yeah.
wrap up?
For my final, yeah. I'm going into my final thoughts. Yeah, my final thoughts is, you definitely have to be very cautious when you go overseas with certain things that you're in your possession. You want to double, triple check, make sure you're good, because other countries don't play certain things that the U.S. may be a little bit more lax on. So you got to be mindful of that. And as far as the WNBA perspective, I think they do need to try to push their players a little bit more. But the issue I think will come is like how much interest do people have in the league, because eventually they'll be pouring money, but they're not getting that return on the investment. So I think that's something they have to deal with, and I think there has to be some sort of compromise. I don't know how their CBA works, but maybe in their next collective bargaining agreement, they'll be able to work out a better pay structure, better marketing campaign for them, and all of that stuff. So it works for both sides, right? You don't want the owners to pour in all that into them and they're not getting any return. They're not getting the advertising deals. They're not getting the deals to help generate that money to increase the WNBA players' salary. So they may not have to do what Brittany Griner does, play overseas to make that extra cash. So that's the thing to keep in mind there. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Oh, lastly, one more thing, is the political side of the things. Excuse me, I feel a little sick here. So with the political side of things is that, our country is not really in good terms with Russia, like Sam said. And I think, this will be a true test of one of the true tests of the Biden administration on how to handle the situation, because everybody keeps bringing up Trump and this wouldn't happen with Trump. So I think Biden has to try to figure out how to get this one solved, just to put a feather in his cap for once. So that's all I wanted to say on that. You can go ahead.
No problem. For me personally, I think when I look at the whole situation, I think that it's a call for a couple of different things, like we touched on today. One, let's just dealing with the WNBA and the branding and the marketing of their athletes, as well as looking to try to find ways in which they can garner more support. Which again, possibly having a dunk contest, if you will, maybe doing. Like you said, Sam, a fusion type situation where they do something with maybe a 3-on-3 ball with, some of the guys, you know what I'm saying, with 2 girls and 2 guys, and they just do like a 2-on-2 type of game or something like that. Something where, we kind of can showcase their skill sets out a little bit more, because I think one thing about the girls are they seem to be a lot of times very fundamentally sound in the game. And understanding it, I think a lot of times when we watch girls basketball, we see a lot more team sports, as far as how they play the game, good passing, communication, things of that nature. So it's like you kind of get the essence of the game when you watch the girls play the game. Whereas in comparison to the NBA, you kind of can see maybe a little bit more star power, where you maybe see a guy who just has a bigger effect on the game kind of do his thing and take shots, as opposed to saying maybe seeing a team that's well oiled in the sense of executing running plays, doing things of this nature. While they're sweet, sometimes it's like the superstars, their talent can kind of outweigh certain situations. So that would be something that I would like to see, in hopes of thinking that they may be able to garner that type of excitement, or a little bit more movement into the sport, so that people maybe support it more, people maybe attend more, the organization can grow and the women can get justly paid in a sense, so that they will be able to not feel as though that they need to, find other avenues to making income, and that their one true love, the thing that they've been doing probably since they were kids, can allow them to live and afford a lifestyle that they won't necessarily have to do that. But wanted to go ahead and jump into, again, our Black Business of the Week, of the month, which is the Good Company, Good, G-O-O-D, Company, C-O-M-P-E-N-N-Y, out of Oakland, California. Again, one of the things that they also brought our book of the month, which I think is a 10,000 shots, which is written, and it's this inspirational quote that kind of just talks about things that can help people, make it and garner from one situation into becoming, unstoppable, becoming, somebody, as they say, put up 50 a night. And it means just executing at a high level and understanding the things that come with, becoming an executioner. In regards to the ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulations, the having to go through, even though you don't want through. So a very good book for motivations and self quotes. And lastly, for our motivational minute, I just want to take the time to say, guys, especially people like you said, Malik, earlier, who don't have influence such as fame or money. We don't get these luxuries, as we kind of can see. We don't get the chances to be able to maybe make mistakes or be cognizant of the things that we have around us. We have to kind of remain on guard, and I think that's something that you not understand growing up here in America. But I think it's almost more. I think it's also more, prevalent when we travel. Again, we talked about this on the show a lot of times when we look at international travel for Black people. I don't know whether they are treated. It doesn't matter necessarily if you're an American or not. I do think that this situation does garner some, no pun intended, some special attention because of the fact that, again, how she's kind of being now used as that pig for Russia to feel like, hey, you want us to let go of somebody who's breaking laws, send us this guy, which has no direct correlation. It's like you said, it's not even a fair trade. I mean, this guy has committed more heinous crimes than Mrs. Garner had, which was, again, having some oil. So I think, Russia may be using this opportunity just to try to get us just to try to get themselves a get out of jail free card for one person as opposed to another. And I think the charges that she might be facing is close to like 10 years. So it's definitely an absorbent amount of time for something so small. But I think also you kind of can see how, depending on the type of climate, depending on the area that you are in, especially considering the fact that, Russia's is in the war right now with everything, and then there's sanctions that's being placed on Russian companies and things like that in America. So, she's just in a real bad place right now. I mean, she's in a bad situation at the wrong time, and so, man, I just think that that's another thing that goes towards, again, people having to be cognizant of what's going on and where they're at. And so I wanted to just say that as, we wrap up today's show. I want to thank everybody for being here, joining us. Appreciate everybody who check in the show every week. If you make it to this point, appreciate you for real, dearly. We're going to keep coming at y'all consistently every week. You can catch us on 8:30s on Wednesdays. You can catch us on Saturdays at 1 p.m. We post on YouTube, which you can watch at any time. I want to thank you guys all being here. Thank my co-hosts for helping us, as I was out of pocket, but we were able to pull everything back in. So, yeah, that's my last words.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. You'll see our socials on the next screen, our outro, and we'll be live again Wednesday, 8:30-ish. If you guys want us to talk about a different topic, let us know. and we'll upload all our videos of Sunday that we do on Saturday around 1 p.m.
Thank you, everybody, for tapping in. We love you, y'all. Have a good one. See you Wednesday. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.